What's going on, guys? It's Nick here, back with another video. Today we'll be going over the biggest risers and fallers by ADP over the last week. I do have to record this a day earlier than I usually do because I will be gone this weekend. So these are the biggest ADP changes from last Thursday to this Thursday. Not that it's really going to change anything. ADPs can only move so much in one day. I figured I'd let you guys know. So who's been moving? Won't get into it again because we see top risers. At least two of the top three are the same as last week. Darrel Nyheim Hines. We talked about them last week. Nothing has changed since, but I would expect both to continue to rise over the next month or so. I would guess we see their final ADPs in around maybe rounds like 10, 11, 12 range for Nyheim Hines. Maybe like the 13th round for Williams. I would say Williams has the most variance to that because it is going to depend on when we see him being used, what reports they have. We know how Hines is going to be used, so we kind of know what his ceiling is. We don't 100% know how much they're going to use Williams. So I would expect around the 13th round for Williams. Again, we'll just wait and see where they end up. I would expect to see them both in the risers list again next week. After those two, Justyn Ross, a surprise. He is, I believe, actually the second biggest riser, making his way like basically into the final round of drafts. So he was going undrafted before, which is like, in your like 215, 220s. He's making his way into the top 200. He will continue to rise. Pretty easy to see why people are getting excited about Ross. He was an exceptional talent in college. He lands on Kansas City. Kansas City has 317 vacated targets from last season. Just remember, Kansas City was one of maybe a handful of teams that medically cleared him. There were many teams that he was completely off their board because they did not clear him medically. So, that's why he went undrafted. So just remember that. But who cares, right? I mean, you don't care that much about health when you're taking your pick in rounds 16 through 20. Nobody cares about risk. We're only looking for upside, and we're only looking for players that we are perfectly fine dropping in week one if they do absolutely nothing, or dropping if he happens to not even make the team. So he's still a really, really good pick late because we're going to know, especially if you're doing season-long drafts right now. I guess on Underdog you could say, oh, well, it's not great if he doesn't make the team because then you're not getting anything from him. I understand that take. But if you're doing a season-long draft right now and you've got a lot of picks late and you want to just not take a defense, not take your kicker, and just draft Justyn Ross, that is absolutely something that you should do because he has upside. If he can make the team, get into the rotation, he's very talented. If he can stay healthy, that is a lot of upside. So I understand why he's rising. It makes complete sense. David Njoku, also up nearly a round, being taken in the mid-13th right now. This is, of course, stemming from his new contract. I think everyone saw the contract and was like, oh, wow, they value him pretty highly. He's now the 5th highest paid tight end in the league, $17 million guaranteed, likely under contract the next 3 years. They don't have to pay him. I believe it's like a 5-year deal. They do not have to finish the contract out, but it seems like with how it's structured and how much guarantee he got, he's probably going to be there for the next few seasons. For season long, though, just understand that it doesn't really matter how long he's going to be there. It's 1 year. They're heavily invested in an athletic 26-year-old tight end. And if Watson's going to maybe be suspended for only part of the season, again, we don't know that. But if there's a chance that he plays with Watson this season, clearly they're invested in him. A lot of upside. A lot of upside with him. Makes complete sense as ADP went up. Even his new ADP, tight end 18, I still have him as a value, and I do expect him to rise maybe another round. I don't think he makes his way into the 11th round, but I think he can get into the 12th round pick, maybe capped a little bit beyond that. But yeah, he should be going as kind of like a mid to high end tight end 2. Not a tight end 1, but I'd say a high end 2 is in the cards for him this season. All the Giants wide receivers are up about half a round, between like 5 and 8 picks for all of them, at least the ones that matter. So your Galladay, Tony, and Wan'Dale Robinson. I do not have the power to impact ADPs. Certainly interesting that I did mention all of them in last week's must draft wide receivers video. They've seen their ADPs go up. But I think this is basically a shout out, not to say that my videos are changing things, but that other people's might, especially when we are this early in the summer. So if you see ETR drop a podcast where they're talking really highly about certain players, before probably like 4th of July, when all like the normies start drafting, you can expect if a big company like that drop something, or maybe the footballers, they drop something, ADPs are going to change. They just are. Because so many people that are drafting right now are getting their information from the exact same source. And so if everyone starts hopping on a player, that's where the ADP rises. Once we get into July, definitely into August, that is not going to be the case. It's going to be very heavily influenced by news in camp, not as much influenced by like individual like podcasters, but know that right now. When the bigger names are dropping podcasts, dropping articles, it's going to change ADP. But yeah, I think it makes sense that the Giants ADPs are going up. They are still not high enough. I expect them to continue rising, and there are still values right now. Someone who's not a value right now, that yet again has made this list, unfortunately, is Mike Williams. He has made the list for the 4th consecutive week. I hope to very soon stop talking about him. He has risen from 61st overall to 30th overall over the last month. After moving up another half round this last week, he has gone from my favorite pick to someone who I cannot get behind drafting anymore. It's fine to do so, but I thought I had a really good projection on him, and he was a value for a long time. The mid-3rd round, creeping his way into the early 3rd round, it's not impossible for him to pay off that price tag, obviously, because he was like the number 1 or 2 wide receiver for a while last season, but you're not giving him a whole lot of room to provide that value. He basically has to go off at this point. And there's no signs of him slowing down. He just keeps going up half a round every week. So right now, I'm probably not taking him. But I believe he might be in a player breakdown video, not next week, but maybe the week after that or maybe the following week. So we'll be able to break him down a little bit further in the future. But yeah, right now, I'm just not taking him at 30th overall. I think it's a little bit too early. Looking at fallers, basically the top end here is players coming off injury who have not seen positive reports. So the top end of the list is Mostert, Logan Thomas, Odell, James Robinson, Michael Thomas. They're not players that we're fully expecting to just like not play this season. It's just everyone knows that they're injured, and we haven't seen positive reports. If we're seeing positive reports from these players, they're going to go back up in ADP. We just haven't really seen that. If I were to order that list in terms of who I'm most confident to be 100% healthy by like week 5, I would say it's first Michael Thomas, then Mostert, then James Robinson, then Logan Thomas, and then Odell. That's how I would rank it. I'm really just not confident in Odell, not super confident in Logan Thomas. The top 3, Michael Thomas, Raheem Mostert, James Robinson, I think that they're going to be okay about a month into the season. But again, they're seeing their ADP drop because we don't have super positive reports. Even at depressed ADPs, personally, that entire list, I'm not really drafting right now. I don't think, even with these new drops, I don't think any of them are screaming values to me. Even Odell on that Underdog live stream, I didn't even take him. It was like the 17th round when I was contemplating it. I still didn't end up taking him because I just have no idea when he's going to be back, or even at this point what team he's playing on. I know you can draft him that late just for the upside, but again, I have no idea when he's coming back, and so it's tough to draft someone when that's the case. Fine taking a shot on Mostert super late, or Odell if you're okay with that in the last round, or honestly Michael Thomas if you're okay with it in the middle rounds. But again, health for some of these guys is a concern. I just don't know when they're coming back. Outside of that like injury group, big names are Pickens fell again, D.Pierce fell another half round. Good job on those two. I've talked about them plenty. I'm not all over them this season. I expected there to be a drop, and it did. Christian Watson fell a few spots. Someone asked me my thoughts on that situation during the live stream, and I'm sure many of you feel the same way, so I figured I'd answer that as well here. They're basically concerned that there's this negative news out of camp for Watson, saying that he's dropping a ton of passes, and this is against air right now. Like, he's not even being defended, so it's not fantastic that you're dropping passes against nothing. Basically, the question was, do we always fade that noise like we did with Chase last summer? Remember, he had the drops, but we're like, don't worry about that, it's fine. Do we always do that with rookies? Was it only Chase? Like, what's the deal there? Last summer was a little bit unique because we had Chase as one of the best prospects we've ever seen, but at least since Calvin Johnson, one of the best prospects. And so because he dropped a few passes, it was like, who cares? Like, we know for a fact that he's fantastic. No one cares about these drop passes. You can't say that about Christian Watson. He's athletic, we can say, but we cannot say without, without any hesitation that he is going to be a great player in the league. We cannot do that. He's still a risky player. He was shut down by some pretty terrible defenses in college. We don't know if he's going to be fantastic. Now, one positive for him is that he's dropping balls not from Aaron Rodgers. So if that continues and all summer he's dropping passes from Rodgers, you know that Sammy Watkins, Romeo Doubs, they're moving up the depth chart because Rodgers operates off of trust. If he doesn't trust you, he doesn't care how good you are, he's not throwing you the ball. We've also seen positive reports from Amari Rodgers, though I don't know how good he's going to end up being. I feel like Romeo Doubs is probably my favorite deep sleeper from that core. But I guess the thing is, if this does continue and we see Rodgers leaning away from him in camp or saying bad things about him, then they do have other players they can still play where they don't need to feature Christian Watson, and his ADP should drop. Right now, it's a few drops. It's really early in camp, really early in his rookie season. Don't worry about it. I don't think that his ADP should really be changing. Whatever you thought before should probably remain the same, unless when Rodgers gets there, it continues and we hear more bad news. But for right now, I don't care. It's not a big deal. Another rookie moving down boards is Tyler Allgeier. I think it's pronounced that way. I looked around for a bit, and I honestly think that his drop is more just because we don't have any news. And so people are looking at it like, I haven't heard anything from this kid. Is he doing bad? Is it going to be someone else? But it's the same situation we've known it's been for a while. It's Patterson, Damian Williams, and Allgeier. It's just them. So maybe, I don't really know why people are coming off him. Again, I think it's just because we haven't heard anything. And maybe people are looking at the depth chart and being like, well, Patterson did well. I've heard of Damian Williams, so I don't really want this other guy on an offense I don't expect to be good. And, honestly, that's a fair take. I'm not really targeting him late, but I don't think he's done anything to change your opinion on him. If you liked him before, you should still like him. If anything, they've talked about using Cordell Patterson in the receiving game more, less as a running back, and so that should be positive. But at the end of the day, it's a late round pick who's getting even later. So if you liked him before, it's still worth taking a shot on him. Personally, not really one of the players that I'm targeting late, even at a super low ADP. Chase Edmonds also seeing his ADP drop close to half a round. I believe it's 4 or 5 spots into the 10th round. And if you watch yesterday's video, you know that I think that ADP is a joke. So getting an even bigger discount is fantastic. The 10th round for Chase Edmonds, that doesn't even make any sense. He should not be going in the same spot that handcuffs are going in. Even if you don't think he's the starter, he's going with other handcuffs, so he doesn't even need to be the starter to pay off this ADP. I think it's pretty clear. You look at the contracts they gave everyone. They have a ton of free agents. Look at the contracts they gave everyone. He is just shattering everyone else, 6x more money than any other running back on this team. He's also the most talented of them. He also is the best in the receiving game. It just makes too much sense for him to shatter a 10th round ADP. So please draft him. Last two we'll go over today are two more that I don't really know why they're changing, but quarterbacks, Matt Ryan and Zach Wilson. Both are down about half a round, and honestly, I looked up for more information here. I don't see anything. The reports out of the Colts camp has been positive. It seems like Matt Ryan is really picking up the playbook very, very well. He's quizzing dudes on plays and then testing them in camp. That's a positive report. It means he knows what's happening there. And we know he's a very intelligent quarterback. He's a very good quarterback. Even at the tail end of his career, he's better than what they've had. I think he's going to be really good this season. There's positive reports out of Paris Campbell. Imagine if Paris Campbell can stay healthy. That's a really good weapon from the slot that can go with Alec Pierce. It can go with Michael Pittman Jr. This is a good offense with really good playmakers. There's no reason that Matt Ryan should be dropping an ADP. And then I guess Zach Wilson, are people scared that he gained weight in the offseason? That should not be dropping his ADP at all. Maybe people use that news to say, I guess I don't want him. But he was tiny coming out of college. If you watched him play last season, he was really, really small. Who cares that he added a little weight? It has absolutely no impact. His cast of weapons is going to be infinitely better than it was last season. Because when we saw the beginning of last season, it was okay, they a few okay players, but then everyone got hurt and he was throwing to absolute garbage. So of course he was going to play bad. Now, he was just bad. I honestly think you give him this group of skill players last year and he still performs terribly. So I don't think it's all on the skill players. He was just really, really bad, made awful reads. But he's got a full season to get better. And he again, he's got a good cast. Wilson, Elijah Moore, Corey Davis, Breece Hall, a few tight ends that are pretty decent. They're not pushovers. That's good. Like, he's got a good cast. If they can stay healthy, I think he's going to have an okay year. There's no reason his ADP should be falling, though. If you liked him before or late, you still like him. There's no news that should have changed your mind. I will close by mentioning a few players whose ADP I expect to rise over the next week based off of positive camp news recently, but that I did not get to talk about today because their ADP has not been going up. For many of them, actually, it's going down. Paris Campbell, again, positive reports out of camp. He's healthy right now. If he stays healthy, he's going to get targets, and he is basically not being drafted. Take him late if you think he can stay healthy. I honestly don't know if he can, but we'll see. Brian Robinson, again, those reports about them splitting early down work. Robinson may be getting goal line work. He's a very good running back to take late. I expect his ADP to go up. Romeo Doubs, he's getting very positive reports out of camp. And if you expect, well, Christian Watson's getting negative reports, well, maybe that means Doubs is rising up depth charts. And if there's any sort of news that Aaron Rodgers is looking to Doubs, take advantage of that. His ADP is going to go up. Jahan Dotson, every single day, there's positive reports about him. He looks fantastic. Looking at clips, he does look really, really good. We still haven't seen McLaurin from his holdout, though I'm not worried about that situation. But Dotson's a clear 2. And a clear 2 on at least an okay offense. Good talent. He should be rising up boards as well. Justin Fields, very positive reports there. It seems like they're going to use play action more, which for some reason they decided not to do last season. He is amazing under play action. They're going to use it a ton this season. He looks good. The weapons might hold him back, but he's going to be good this season. I think his ADP is going up. Austin Hooper, apparently getting a lot of targets in camp. That's going to be an easy one for people. He goes super late in drafts. They have no pass-catching weapons. He could just get peppered this season. He'll go up in ADP. And then James Cook. Positive reports there, basically saying there are a lot of ways they can use him more than just a conventional backup, indicating they're going to use him in the receiving game. They're going to line him up wide. So he's going to get targets. I think his ADP will go up a little bit. It's already relatively high, so I don't think it'll go up too much, but I think that'll go up as well. So that'll do it for the biggest ADP changes over the last week. We are off tomorrow and then back for another episode of Mock Draft Monday. And then yet again, live stream, 8 p.m. Eastern, Tuesday night to do some underdog drafts and then answer any questions you guys have. So make sure you come to that with questions prepared. I will try to answer everyone's question if you ask one. And remember, you can get my exact rankings, my exact projections, so you can look up those questions even faster by just looking at the website, thefantasyfootballadvice.com, every scoring format and every league size. It is very important to have rankings for league size, even though no one in the industry will do it. That, my friends, is the end of this one. Hope you all did enjoy. If you did, how about hitting the like button? And how about subscribing to the channel if you're new here? Thanks for watching.